let me introduce the group here. We've got Wade Nicholson here on my right. We've got Wendell Dills, myself, I'm Bill Kendall, and this is Keith Kenny, Jerry Turpin, and Joe Chastain back here. And Joe is just celebrating his 90th birthday, right, Joe?
Yeah.
And we talked quite a while about getting together and talking to these fellows about the mountains in Towns County, because all these mountains have a name and a good history behind them, and we just wanted to get it recorded. And so with that, we're going to start off with Wade. You can tell them what you know of where you want to start off here.
Well, a lot of the names they've changed since your daddy, Paul Kendall, and Boyd Nicholson, my daddy Leonard, told me the names of them. They've changed a lot of them. Like up there at Indian Grave Gap, go around there to the left, that was called Charlie Rogers Cove. Now they call it the Grapevine. And I thought the Grapevine was on Swallows Creek. And then the mountain right to the right of the Indian Grave Gap was always called the Rocky Knob. I mean the Blue Mountain. Now the Forest Service has named it, and they call it the Rocky Knob. And going down from the gap up there down towards Jerry Westland's old beer joint, down there where that plane back wrecked several years ago, they always called that the Rocky Knob, but they've changed an awful lot of them. And the one there, Long Branch, where Burry Place, Odell Powell Place, they call it the Crusher Branch. So they've changed so many of them, the Forest Service has. A lot of the younger people don't know the names that they was called. But I pretty well walked it from Wheeler Gap, around into the Tom Carrot Gap, into the Gap, Turkey Pen Gap they call it, but it's on down yon side where the Appalachian Trail crossed. And I've walked the trail and hunted it all the way from there to where the Russell Scenic Highway is now. Me and Otis Garrett used to hog hunt it before the Russell Scenic Highway was built. And that long ways across there, but the top of it pretty well, I reckon, kept the name that it was, except the one right to the right of that is Scalp. They called it something that was down on Chattahoochee side. Me and Jack, his daddy Jack McKinney, and them, we always called it the head of the Cherry Cove. Then go out of the Cherry Cove over into the swag of the Blue Ridge, what was at the head of the Gizzard, and on around into Young's Lick.
Wade, tell us where the Gizzard and Young's Lick is. The
It's right. It's to the right of the Addis Gap going towards Unicorn Gap. Go into the first in the swag, that's the head of the Gizzard. Then you go on around and go into Young Lick, and that's the one that goes down in on Goshen. And then out of it up to the next gap, called it Boar Gap. That's where me and Wendell and Al Dills caught the big hog and drove it out from there down to, well, we drove it to Pete Mullins. I walked pretty well both sides of it, from the Wheeler Gap all the way to the Russell Scenic Highway. We caught the big hog up there and cut Al's red dog's throat wide open. I told him to sew it up. Me and Wendell tied the hog, and Al said, "There ain't no use sew it up because it's jugular vein." I said, "Well, it's still breathing." So Wendell, he run out to Branch, got me a red mud, made me a bud pine. I packed his throat full of red mud and sewed it up. Al said, "Well, if the cut don't kill it, the mud will." I said, "No, that's what the Indian used to stop the blood." He carried it from there down to the White Pines on Corbin, started to the creek, and the old dog got to wiggling his leg. I said, "Al, set him down, let him get him a drink. He can't stand up." I said, "Yeah, he's a wiggling, he's wanting some water." He set him down. Old dog tried to lap, his throat was cut bad. He finally got him a little water and shoved right big, and Al said, "Dang, I believe he can walk." So he followed him on down. Me and Wendell drove the hog all the way down, but James Brown's come out and hit the highway, and we just kept going. I was going through the gap there above Bradley's and bringing a truck back. Oh, muddy place there at Pete Malden's driveway now, there at Corbin Road. Old hog got in there and we tied a stick in his mouth about big as my arm, where if one of us fell, he'd hit us with that stick. Two old boys and two girls come by in a convertible. They stopped. They said, "What do you got that stick in his mouth for?" I said, "I put that in there where he could breathe good. He's getting hot." So they got out them hippie breeches on, you know, and tennis shoes. Got up close to him.
And they said he was domestic.
Huh?
They said he was
Yeah.
domestic.
Domestic, that's right. I motioned for Wendell to give him a little slack, and I took that line rope, smacked him up beside the head. He made a high dive at that of them hippie bridges, and he just jumped in that one. I thought Wendell was going to die laughing at him. We drove him all the way down there before Al got back to the truck. Wendell, he's walked them all over, coon hunting, deer hunting, hog hunting, just like I have.
Joe,
He knows
the Addis
good.
Gap up there, when did, that was named for the Addis family, is that right?
Yeah.
And when did they leave here?
Wendell knows.
Huh?
Luther, he must have taken better out there. When did the Addisons leave up there? It was in,
Going up Mill Creek, the gap in there is called Addis. Gap.
Yeah,
It's got its
they named
name.
that after Luther Addis. He used to live on the Rayburn side there.
Okay, yeah. And that, they left when?
You
I thought you said they
19.
left about 1940.
1941 they moved there.
You go on through there and go down on Chastain Creek, I believe.
They go
Lake
left,
Ocean.
there's four roads.
Yeah, and Chastain Creek and Moccasin in there.
Go in, the easiest way to go to Chastain Creek, if you're walking, is go to the gap going towards Clayton and hit Flat Patching Trail.
Yeah.
You come into the Moorland Gap and then go out of Moorland Gap and go across into the Deep Gap. And then turn down and go in Chastain Creek.
Yeah, yeah.
And now they've got it named North Fork. It ain't Chastain Creek no
Is
more.
that right?
Yeah. North Fork of Moccasin.
There used to be awful good speckles out in
Yeah.
there. I've caught a half a flour sack full time or two with a sourwood stick. One never taken their rod, taking a sourwood stick where they throw it down the run. We'd slip in there and fish.
Yeah, I had some pieces of pot and old plates broke there at your old great-grandpa's place, and I've got them in a truck up there at Genesis now. I was gonna bring them and give them to you. I'll give them to you.
okay.
So I know they lived there in 1876. That's when your grandpa Huck was born there.
Yeah.
And he died in 1946.
Bill was asking about the net. Now, I know where the net is. Go out of Mossy Cove, across that one ridge, you go into the net. But I don't know where it's the big net or the little net. I believe it's the big net. ain't
Big
it?
man.
Well, it depends on how high you go. They're right there, one of them,
I've heard my dad talk about big net and little net.
Yeah.
How'd he get its name, net? What's,
And then when you go out of the last net, one to the right from here looking up, you go across into Broad Creek.
yeah, yeah, it ain't far across there. Comes out, you go up there to where the old Underwood place was on Broad Creek, right up over the hill, and it ain't far right over into the little net there. Turpin there used to work there in the little net, all the last.
I remember being up there with Daddy, haul logs out of Big Net, Little Net, and
Yeah,
Broad Creek. He done a lot of
yeah,
acid wood and all out of Broad Creek.
Come up out of the big net and go down to the bottom of the road to Rock Creek. Put a load of logs on truck and have them sprinkled, hold it with a dozer, hold it back, keep them running away.
You mentioned the gizzard a while ago, and I'm just one of these young whippersnappers from turn east. But I'm gonna tell you this, what I ever found out of the gizzard, I haven't lost anything there that I need to go back and get. It's rugged. It's rough. It's as rough as they are in the mountains, isn't it?
You was trying to catch them specker trout, you was down in the creek, you went to left, got on that ridge, then it'd be good walking. Used to be a trail go out through Tripp's Gap,
Yeah.
go around through the head of Horseman Hog Pen and right off in the Gizzard.
They went all the way into the swag down Wildcat. But then when they control burn that, let it get it out, target out, it's growed up now, you can't get a mule to
That's
it.
true.
Now, where is the horse trough?
That's over on the Chattahoochee side on the.
Union County side, go into Jack's Gap. If you go around the Appalachian Trail, you go through out there, Henson Gap, then Joel Gap, and then on out into,
Cool Spring and then,
Cool Spring, and then into the horse trough.
yeah.
Now, that Henson and Joel Branch, that's up there where the Y camp is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah, Joel goes, well, Henson the first and the left. You go up there, up old road and pull up to the right, then you go over into Joel. And then if you cross out a bit to the right, you'll come into the Gurley field.
Yeah.
If you go to the head of Gurley field and come out the right, then you come out in the trail that goes from Jack's Gap into the Chattahoochee Gap.
Going up Fodder Creek, Joe, you were born and raised on Fodder Creek, but going up the creek there, there's a place called the Meeting House Cove. Tell them how that
That's right,
that
the other
name
side of your
came.
house, that branch.
Yeah, how did that name come about, do y'all know?
There used to be a church up there somewhere on the head of that branch.
They used to vote there, didn't they, Joe?
Huh?
Didn't they vote there years ago with an old house?
Mhm.
I've heard that, I've heard they used, that's the reason they call it the meeting. They'd meet there and had where they'd all meet there.
Well, now, there's a place on up there called the Glacier, isn't there? I've heard my dad talk about the Glacier, isn't that up there somewhere?
You know, that's up the left-hand creek, and there, you go to it from the right-hand creek, from Owl Creek, either one. But go up to the Bone Mountain Park, go by the Punching Cap Cove, cross the branch there, creek, and then go on out. And the Glacier lays to the left. You go up there and go up the steep, and you go into the, what they call the upper gap, the lower gap on Otter Creek, and then you go up over the steep, and that's, goes into the upper gap, and then go on up, and you come out right under the Ball Road.
Joe, tell them where you were born up there. It's on that upper loop, isn't it?
I was at the Hooker Branch. The Hooker Branch, I born in Hooker Branch, right there, head of the road.
And let's see, Elmer and Robert Sprinkles, they were born on the loop up there.
That's the
Yeah.
middle of the circle up there.
And them old trails, now there's one over there, comes through the Lower Sand Street Gap. Comes through there and comes down over here on the Pheasant Branch, that old house place there. You still travel it pretty good.
There's a wormy chestnut hog lot up there that my grandfather had, that's in that area.
Yeah, it's all gone now. It's been gone about 10 or 15 years.
Well, I was years ago, I went in there with Dad and he showed it to me, and it still stands. That's when they moved all the cattle and the hogs. To my understanding, they gather them up and take them through the mountains and sell them over at Clarksville through that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where they had them hog fields, that's where when them sows had pigs, they just pull out about 2 logs here and throw corn in there and let the pig go in there, and that's when they mark them and whatever ones need work done, that's where they work done.
Well, tell them, Wendell, about marking what they did to their hogs and why. Look at the camera. Tell them about the marking of the hogs, everybody
Yeah,
had a mark and,
everybody knew everybody's mark, they call it a high swatter fort and 2 splits in the left ear and the other, and his would probably be a half crop and 1 split in the right ear. Anyway, everybody knew everybody's hog.
You know, Dad, and he had double them.
Yeah, some of them had 2.
That way, if yours is marked, Hey, gosh, if he wanted one, why, he just cut them both off and then it
Easy mark.
And each person had a bell that had a certain ring, didn't it?
Yeah.
They had.
Yeah.
On the
Tell
cattle.
tell them about the cat range and the cattle thing.
There's no been bells never here.
Yeah, the more brass they had on them, the more keener the sound was. If you wanted a dull sound, they didn't put too much brass on.
Everybody knew the ring when they hear them clapping and
Yeah, oh yeah, everybody knows their own bell.
My father would tell me about, you're talking about the time frame when the American chestnut was still here. There was just tons of chestnut on the ground. And he said that was the best pork you ever ate. He said they would eat so much of that chestnut that he said the fat would actually be a pink color. I guess you guys can tell more about that than I can, but he always said that was the best meat you could ever eat if they'd been eating wild chestnut.
When the elder them was logging up from the gizzard, he found a bale that had LA on it in brass. So he put old man Earl Malden, he was still alive then, and he was telling him about it, and Earl said, I believe I made that bell for Luther Addis. He said, would you bring it by and let me look at it? And the elder took it over, and he said, yep, that's it. They didn't tell how long that thing's been laying there, it still just sounds, it being had LA and brass on the outside of it. Had it marked.
But Charlie Hicks had a bunch of cowbells, I remember.
Oh,
He
I
did.
remember used to, and I just teenager there, going to the woods with Dad, and you getting them gals, they just bells as far as you could hear any way you turn your head.
Yeah, they set up there on Mill Creek, that big rock there at the Big Bend. They call that the Salt Rock Gap, said that's where they went, called the cattle and the hogs in the field, and they named it Salt Rock Gap. Said they could call there and cattle could hear them all the way through the Cinch Creek Gap. If they wasn't too far down, they'd still come where they could get their salt, feed their hogs.
There's a place called, I heard my dad talk about Young's Lick. Did that get its name because of the salt in the stock?
I never did hear how
That's,
it got
that's
its
big,
name.
there's big flat rocks in the gap there, and that's where they use the softer cows too, and that's why they call it the lick.
Now, where is Young's Lick?
It's right at the head of Goshen on the Habersham side, and Double Branches on the Corbin side. There's no trailway goes through there.
Now, pile of rocks up there.
Yeah,
about
great
20
big.
foot from the trail. And when you're up there, if it's foggy, you front that rock pile and hit that old trail and you come out down there right next to Double Branches on Corbin. I've walked in a many a time with a milk jug full of speckled trout and
Stone full.
laws stuck down in them to keep them cool. Pull them big law loose off and stick in there and run that cold water in them, you carry them all the way to the ground.
You always eat them at some first,
Yeah,
though, in case they
always
want to
eat
take them away from you.
Eat all you could eat and then bring the rest of them back. Me and Robert Franklin just fish it regular.
What about Milksick? Where's it at in that area?
What?
Milksick Cove, up there in there on Milksick.
Salters Creek.
Sense Creek's the only one I know of.
That's what
Only one I know of is on what they call a Long Branch, go up Hooper Branch and go right up through the Betsy Cove and turn right over into the right, like you go into the very place. And that's what they call the Milkseek. They said that's where Odell Powell's lost a kid or two, that the cow was grazing up in there and it drunk the milk and killed it. And that's the only Milkseek that I know of. It's really on what we call Long Branch. They call it Crusher Branch now. Go up above Odell Place and turn to the right. Lays right back up under the round top.
What did it look like? I've never seen
Nobody
it.
knows.
Really?
Is that right?
And then I better go up there to the place above there, the place on Father Creek. you couldn't have a cow or anything if that was magnificent. And if you cut tops and stuff, you know, like full of bottom, throw it down on the ground, the cow, and you kill it, just stays out.
I remember old man Ron Burrow, you remember him? He told me one time when I was at Smalley, he caught it over at the Addis place out of peach. Like to kill him, but he finally got over it. He said that's the only thing I could have caught out of that peach I ate that day before.
So I done went to Atlanta when they built the courthouse. My dad-in-law Grady Taylor and LG helped build it, but I never did work on it. I done went to Atlanta when they built it.
Yeah, I helped tear that old one down. Everybody thought it was about ready to fall. We like not tore it down the bulldog.
That's the biggest,
Yeah.
the biggest mistakes have been made tearing that courthouse
That's
down.
exactly it. Well, everybody said, why don't they build it behind it?
Well, it was designed for the square, that's why
Yeah.
there's arches all the way around it, and the garden club didn't want it built on the square, so that's why the old courthouse was torn down instead of being preserved.
First time I was ever in the old courthouse, we walked from Potter Creek down there, went up them steep steps. Here, little Jimmy Dickens came, taking the old quotator away. Give him a quarter.
I went to school in the old courthouse in the 7th grade while we were waiting for the new school to be built. And this is the mural that they put in the new schoolhouse that's behind you right now. That's the way the PTA, I think, raised money, possibly through the advertisement on the mural that's back here on the wall. We were very fortunate to get that. But I think it's more important to find out from Mr. Joe. You also worked on McConnell Church, right?
Yeah.
And who were some of the people that worked with you?
And it's me and Kenneth Moody and just about every young boy that was around.
Right.
We poured made the concrete, I guess it's about a yard mixer they had. Just, Ray Moody had it, and we poured the concrete and made it by hand and poured it.
Well, I would love to know, because Jerry, whenever we showed the centennial picture, Mr. Bart Turpin had that load of logs.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Had two of them.
Yes, he had 2 trucks, right?
I think them logs come off of Broad Creek, didn't
Probably did.
they? I think so.
Okay.
They had 2 loads up there.
And another,
Come from Volvo.
Vogel? Oh, okay. He's logging over above Vogel when he loaded that.
They're bursting off that tree. Just one log that all you got on the truck, and it's so big. I don't know the size of the bed.
What kind were they, Joe?
Poplar.
I always was amazed, how did they get them loaded?
They had a homemade loader, out of a Chevrolet motor, and take them some poles and guy them off, and they loaded it out. Later on, the first was they rolled them on the pavement.
Roll them up on skip poles by hand.
Yeah, let a landing come in and maybe have a bank up here and roll them over on the truck, and then lay them on up, roll them over. But then he started making a loader, take a little Chevrolet engine, what he always used, put a drum on it and get some logs or poles and guy them off, and they'd pick them up the thing.
And they loaded a lot of them, put 2 skid poles up on the truck, wrapped log chains around it, hooked a team to it.
Yeah, on the other side of the truck.
On the other side of the truck, rolled them up there. But you had to lay back on it real heavy lines or they'd turn the truck over. And big logging horse, they wouldn't quit.
You remember when I turned that loader your daddy had over up there in Kentucky? Run that power line with it?
No, I wasn't up there.
Yeah, you was there, you just probably wasn't there that week, and anyway, it turned over on the side of the radiators, on busted the radiator.
Oh.
So we went down the road there to a place and used car lot, and he didn't have one, he said, one down about a quarter mile on down the road. Well, this guy had about a half a ear missing. The first one we talked to, we went down there this sudden, and Bart asked him if he had a radiator, and he said, yeah. Well, he had an ear missing too, and I didn't know what Bart was thinking when I seen him. When he got his business done, he said, they've got to fight over them radiators. You know, that half there. That's a coincidence. Yeah, Mark said they've got to fight over them radiators.
They never marked them up there in Kentucky like we used to.
Yeah.
Now, I think before we end, I would love for you, Joe, can you tell us who your father and mother were?
Well, my father's Tom Chastain, my mother's Martha Berry.
Okay. And you're from a very large family?
Yeah. 7 of us.
7, okay. And Jerry?
Bart Turpin, Lola Brown, is my mother, and I got one brother.
Okay.
My father was Jack McKinney and my mother was May Garrett. Got a brother named Carol.
Wade?
You go ahead,
Yeah.
Bill.
Paul Kendall, and my mother.
My mother was Garrett, Sarah Garrett, my father Alan Dills, and they born 12 children.
Oh my gosh, 12, a dozen, right?
Secret was that.
My daddy's named Leonard Nicholson, my mother's named Bertha Underwood, and they had 7 kids, and I'm the baby. I guess that's why I'm spoiled.
Oh, you think you're spoiled, okay. All right. I think this is marvelous that you people came and did this for us today, and we're planning on doing it quite frequently. I think it works better if you act like you're sitting around the Red McKinney's old store. Did any of you ever sit up there and tell tales?
Been by there.
Been by there, but I never did do it.
Well,
Should have a jug of moonshine sitting around somewhere.
yes, we should. And most of you don't realize this, but Chris Phillips sitting back here, when they came and interviewed at Red McKinney's store, they asked him who he was, and he said, "I'm the littlest liar."
Yeah, they said the history why that was named Boar Gap. That Charlie Austin called him no wild hog. He'd fool with trying to drive it, and he wouldn't drive directly. He just run it, kicked it over, and said got it down, beat it in the rib about 5 inches fist, turned it up, brought it on home. That's why it's named Boar Gap.
Oh, goodness.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but all the old people said that's what happened.
Tell me a little bit more about that peach that got somebody sick and killed some cows. Go over that again.
Mr. Ron Burrow told me when I was about 10 years old that he caught it out of a peach that he'd caught eat over to Luther Addis' place over in Rayburn County through the Addis Gap. He said that was the only thing you'd eat that day, and he had to go down that peach.
What were the symptoms when you were sick with that?
They just take a fever and just deteriorate. I reckon just go to dehydrate.
It didn't kill Odell Powell's wife. She drunk a milk, but they said she was nursing the baby and it killed the baby. And I don't know what milk sick is.
Well, nobody never did know.
Said it's something coming out of the ground, I reckon, and gets on the plants, but I don't know. No way to detect where it's at.
So you say it was up in there in the very cold, Joe?
Yeah, up there between the round top, between the round top and the Caesar Gap.
Well, I think it's mostly where them real north dark cold was, never did get much sunlight. They said as the dew got off, you could let the cows go in there, but not let them go in there till the dew got off. So,
Yeah, they used to, they turned them out in the pasture, in the woods there. They would put them in the barn or a lot of a night, most of them made out of rails, and they'd keep them up till the dew got off before they let them out to go to the woods and pick. Had the fields fenced, but the mules and the cows on the outside. They got what they call no stock law, and then they had to take them all there.
I'll tell you something that I learned from Wendell Deal. And I don't know if you remember this or not. But years ago, and a lot of people don't know this, and I never knew, I grew up, a boy around here. Wendell told me, he said, you can't burn oak leaves. You can put pretty much a fire down, I don't know if you remember down there or not. You can put something down and they won't catch on fire till they're frosted on. You remember that? And you cannot hardly catch oak leaves on fire until they've been frosted on, can you?
No,
Never heard that.
they'll smolder, but they won't run away.
Drives the sap out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And a dog can't smell on them until they frost.
Uh-uh.
You're right. New leaves, if you go coon hunting or squirrel hunting, that's the reason squirrel dogs have so much trouble. The leaves is just beginning to fall in the fall of the year, and a dog can't smell on them until they frost and freeze. A lot of the old people says they curl up like that. Squirrel or any animal steps on it, it'll turn over. But I think it's because when they freeze, it takes the sap out of them, is what I think. After it rains and they freeze, well, then they can trail on them.
Yeah, he doesn't be burning whatever it does to them. I'm that way. When them leaves first fall, a good dog, he can't do nothing on the track. You let them freeze and dry up, and he can go on never more for frost.
Well, we certainly hope Mr. Joe has many, many more birthdays, for sure.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Joe.
happy birthday.
I told them I had to come where I'd know what to do when I got there.
I'm like Mickey Mantle. If I knew I'd been gonna live this long, I'd take a whole lot better care of myself.
Okay, I guess we're through, aren't we?
I was turkey hunting years ago, and Wendell was fishing, and I heard this laurel limb pop. And I knew somebody was coming. He's up on high shoulders, you there?
Yeah.
I saw Wendell's head pop up over one of the laurels and look around. Well, when you turkey hunt, you got gloves, mask, and everything. And I knew the trail was coming up, so I pulled my mask up, my gloves on, and I just leaned back against the tree. Well, here come Wendell. He was getting it up that bank. I stuck my hand out. I said, "You want me to give you a hand?" He jumped back and I pulled that mask down. That's one time Wendell Dales could whip me. He said, "You smart aleck."
I told him, I said, I ain't got my day, or I can't carry that jug like that.
I had to do it. The opportunity is there, man.
Yeah, it's just your natural instinct, you can't help it. You're gonna do it.
Well, especially,
Somebody says something to
yeah,
you, or-
especially somebody in full
Or even if
camouflage.
you're out in the woods 20 miles and know there's nobody around, you will fall. That's the first thing you do, jump up.
I see somebody talking.
Tell Bill about Lord catching up a boy to mess of fish, painting them. We put the lighter fluid in.
Well, that wasn't me, that was a bunch of other fellas. We all went camping over on, darn it all. We had gone camping over on Chattahoochee. And Lowell was camping Lois down there, and somebody had seen one of these Tarzan movies. And you know how a bunch of boys, some of them will carry too much Coleman fuel or too much bread. We didn't ever make, we just meet somewhere, you know. I think we had 4 or 5 gallon of Coleman fuel. And it had rained for 4 or 5 days. And there wasn't no way not to catch on fire. And one of the boys kept saying, "Well, how'd they get that burned?" You know. So they'd light a match and throw it in there and it'd go out. And I had the bright idea. I said, "Well, won't you light a bag and put it in there?" Well, what happened, they had poured a whole gallon in there. Now, Lowell now's below us now, downstream. Now, you gotta remember something, the whole time that bag's burning down, that fuel's going down the creek. And it's dusky dark, and Lowell's down there cleaning his fish on the creek bank. And all at once, whoo, right down the creek, that thing lit. And you can see Lowell's face and his knife, and he went, "Yeah!" He held that knife and fish down and packed up and went home. He wasn't gonna stay with
Time the water start burning.
We didn't do it intentionally, you know, but it just the
Just
way it
can't build
happened.
it up.
Well, the way it happened, you know, it just floated down the creek, you know.